Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing another wish or skip for the upcoming characters Raiden Shogun and Kamisato Ayato, along with the exclusive weapon banner for the Engulfing Lightning and the Harangepatsu Futsu. I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going to be wishing for one of the 5-star characters or one of the 5-star weapons, and best of luck to everybody in their pulls. Now, in the previous wish or skip, I discussed the idea that characters should be wished for if you want that character. There shouldn't be any determining factor based on strength of a character, as all the characters in Genshin Impact are relatively good and will be able to get you through the entire Spiral Abyss if you want to go for the endgame content, or get you through the entire game itself with all of its regions and boss fights. A good place to start to support that point is going to be talking about Ayato. Ayato is a very niche character where he's not the greatest DPS, he's not the greatest support, but he's still a really strong and really fun character to play overall. There's a recent team that's been surfaced for him that uses Nahida, Kuki Shinobu, and Yunjin, in which Ayato acts as the main DPS for the team, who deals a ton of damage with his skill, and Nahida gets to boost the team through elemental mastery of Ayato and enables the bloom to happen. Now, we know with the rise of Dendro, bloom teams have started to surface. Even after nerfs, they are extremely strong teams, and so if you do already have Nahida, it would be really good to pair her with Ayato for this team. Otherwise, it still works really well with something like Layla. You could play a freeze team, you could put Ganyu in if you don't have Ganyu as a support, or even run a double Hydro and use Yelan. You could also go for vape options with Bennett and Xiangling. Now, outside of that, Ayato has a decent free-to-play friendly party where you run double Hydro. This can be done with either Barbara for healing, Kokomi for healing, Xingqiu for support, or even Yelan as mentioned previously. You can also pair this with Xiangling or Bennett, so you get the vape along with Dendro Traveler, so you still have the option for bloom there as well. Outside of that, Ayato doesn't find a lot of use, and that's why I want to talk about him, because he's not the strongest character, but oh my god, is he so fun to play. I would recommend pulling him. He also has a very niche artifact set for best in slot of Echoes of an Offering. It's not the greatest domain to run because it also runs with Vermilion Hereafter, which is Zhao's signature artifact. So if you don't have Zhao, the domain isn't the greatest to run, but you can still run Ayato with Shiminawa's Heart of Depth or even Gladiator's Finale. But Echoes of an Offering is the best artifact in slot for Ayato. I would recommend him. He is one of the characters I've had the most fun with in their trial runs, and I hope you guys enjoy him as well. Let's talk about the big character coming on these character banners now. The Raiden Shogun, the Electro Archon. Now, we know Archons are typically always very strong. Zhongli is one of the best shields in the game. Nahida is one of the best elemental mastery users in the game, and at one point in time, Venti was one of the best CC users in the game, and he still is. But if there is a character that stands above the rest in Genshin Impact, it is the Raiden Shogun. Her burst scales off energy recharge, which is why Engulfing Lightning or the Catch are also really good on her, as well as one of the 4-star weapons on this banner you can use. We'll talk about that when we get to the weapon banner, but Raiden is known across the Genshin community as one of, if not the best characters in Genshin Impact. She works extremely well as a DPS, she works extremely well as a sub DPS, and she works extremely well as a support. She can be a battery on any team. She works extremely well with the international team, which we've seen with Child, we've seen now with Raiden, we've seen a few other variations of it, but I believe Raiden has the strongest international team that you can possibly build. She is almost a guaranteed easy full star Spiral Abyss, so I would highly recommend pulling on this character, even for constellations. She peaks at C2, and then again you can go all the way to C6, but C2 is that super special constellation. Once you hit that, your Raiden is going to be doing insane numbers. As for an artifact piece, she uses Flower of Paradise Lost, which is a really good artifact set on her. Not too hard to grind. I mean, it is artifacts, there is always that RNG factor there. But I would highly recommend pulling for Raiden. If you plan on not doing it, maybe this will persuade you a little bit. Again, if Raiden's not somebody that interests you, don't go pull for her. But she is one of, if not the best characters in Genshin Impact, and I don't think we're going to see another character quite like her for a very long time. Now we get into everybody's favorite banner, the weapons banner. Who doesn't like a good weapons banner? This weapons banner kinda stinks, but it doesn't stink as much as the Wanderer and Ito banner. It's actually quite a lot better than that. Engulfing Lightning is one of the best pole arms in the game, especially for your support builds. Again, it's Raiden's best in slot. It works really well as a Rosaria burst support. It works really well as a Shenhab support, and it works pretty good on Yunjin. Yunjin has a better weapon though, which is also on this banner. So I would highly recommend Engulfing Lightning, especially on Raiden Shogun, Rosaria, who is one of the 4-star characters on the banner, and Shenha. Phenomenal weapon for all 3 of those characters. Ayato's signature weapon, on the other hand, Haran Gepake Futs, is niche. It is almost specifically niche to Ayato. It does not have a lot of success anywhere else that Mist Splitter or Jade Cutter or Freedom or a better 5-star sword can do for other characters in the game. This one is specifically locked to Ayato. So that's why I wouldn't recommend pulling on this weapon banner, because although you can have one of the best pole arms in the game, you can also get one of the weaker 5-star swords in the game. And that can throw a lot of people off, especially because the weapon banner is a huge bait for pity, because you need to lose your 50-50s essentially twice before you're guaranteed to get the weapon you actually want, which in this case would likely be the Engulfing Lightning, unless you're going for the Ayato weapon combination. Now, as for the 4-star weapons, we have the Aquamaru, the Claymore, the Moon's Moon Bow, the Lion's Roar, the Favonius Lance, and the Sack Frags. Okay, let's start with the Claymore. So we have Aquamaru, the Claymore. For every point of the entire party's combined maximum energy capacity, the elemental burst damage of the character equipping this weapon is increased by 0.12%. A maximum of 40% increased elemental burst damage can be achieved. This isn't a good alternative to a lot of characters' claymores. It actually only works great on Beidou. It's had success on Chongyun in the past, but as more weapons have come out, it's kind of fallen off of Chongyun's list while still staying on Beidou's top claymore list. It's one of her top 5 claymores. So if you guys want to pick it up, it's good on her. It's not good on anybody else. As for the bow, we're kind of in the same position here. The bow is not good on anybody except for DPS Venti. You're never really going to be doing DPS Venti because you're going to be building Venti as either a support, maybe a little battery if you don't have somebody else who you want to be a battery, or a little CC combination. And at that point, you're better off using Elegy, Stringless, or End of the Line if you have End of the Line. Moons really only works if you're going for straightforward Animo DPS Venti or Animo damage Venti. It is not that great, and that's why I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a horrible weapon on Kujo Sara, who is Raiden's signature support. I didn't discuss that on the character banner, but Kujo Sara is Raiden's signature support. You kind of like to have the two together, but you don't need to have them. She is more dependent on Raiden than Raiden is dependent on her, but it has a fairly high base attack, which works because it boosts the damage of Kujo Sara. But again, you could run Sack Bow if you have Elegy or if you have Skyward Harp. Those are better alternatives on Kujo Sara. Now let's talk about the Lion's Roar. And I want to talk about the Lion's Roar because this is a weapon that somehow I get all of the time. I pull this on the character banner so much. I believe I almost have 2 R5 Lion Roars at this current state, which is one of my highest in the game for weapons. I don't know why I always pull this. Lion's Roar is not a great sword. Again, we've talked about how many good 5-star swords there are. Mist Splitter, Jade Cutter, Freedom Sworn, even Favonia. You know, Lion's Roar is never going to be anybody's best in slot because it has such a unique passive in which it increases damages against enemies affected by Pyro or Electro by 20%. So you're only ever going to really use this on a Pyro character, an Electro character, or somebody who works well with the two. And with that being said, the best character you could put this on if you don't have a good 5-star weapon is Kaching. It provides additional damage to enemies affected by Electro. Therefore, Kaching gets a bit of a damage bonus from this when she's using her burst, when she's using her elemental skill. But again, Kaching has much better options such as Mist Splitter or Jade Cutter. If you don't have any of those, and you do have Kaching, this is a good sword for you. From there, I want to talk about Sacrificial Fragments. Sacrificial Fragments is one of the best catalysts in this game for elemental mastery builds. Specifically, as we mentioned earlier, we talked about the Nahida build with Ayato. This has the highest elemental mastery for a 4-star catalyst, and it works extremely well on a Nahida elemental mastery support build if you did not pull either the Wandering Even Star or Nahida's signature weapon, 1,000 Floating Dreams. Sack Frags is the next one to go for because it's going to give plus 221 elemental mastery, which is even higher than the Wandering Even Star or Nahida. It also is Sucrose's best in slot weapon if you are not going to use Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. Thrilling Tales is more of a free to play option, which is still really good. But if you do have Sack Frags, it is Sucrose's best in slot weapon. I would highly recommend it, especially if you are going to be going for that Ayato team. We did mention earlier, Nahida works really well with that. If you don't have Nahida, maybe avoid this weapon banner a bit further. Now we get to the best weapon on the banner. We have the Favonius Lance. The Favonius Lance is a really good alternative for Raiden if you need that energy recharge and you don't already have the catch. It is really good for Rosaria as her burst support build if you don't already have, again, another better energy recharge weapon like Skyward, Engulfing, or the Catch. It is also Yunjin's best in slot. It does require a good crit rate, but it gives additional energy when dealing crits, and it provides energy recharge to help with her burst uptime, which if you're going to run a mono Geo team, which we just had Ito, so now is the perfect time to build up Yunjin as an extra support for him. This would be the best weapon to pull for her. But I want to highlight specifically Rosaria and Raiden as they are actually characters that are coming on these banners. Raiden, of course, is best with the Engulfing Lightning, but if you don't want to throw so much of your wishes, throw so much of your primos into this banner, you could stop once you hit Favonius Lance. Now, Rosaria, same situation. If you don't want to blast all of your pity into Engulfing Lightning, you can stop once you hit Favonius Lance, and it's really, really good on her for if you're going to run some cryo teams. Another option for Rosaria is the Wavebreaker's Fin, which I believe was the pull arm on the last banner. So if you're strictly pulling for Rosaria and you don't already have a weapon you want to use on her, and you pulled on last banner to get wave breakers, then you don't need to pull on this weapon banner at all. And therefore, you can save yourself some primos for the next upcoming banners. As we know, Yao Yao and Alhaitham are coming in soon, and those are going to be some banners that a lot of people want to pull for, as they are very, very hyped up characters. Overall, to summarize this video, the best weapon you could pull for on the banner is definitely Engulfing Lightning. If you don't want Engulfing Lightning, I would recommend hitting Favonius Lance and stopping there, as the other 4 weapons that accompany it aren't the greatest. As for characters, you can pull for Ayato or Raiden, whichever you see fit, and the supporting characters on those banners, Rosaria, Kujo-Sara, and Sayu, they're all decent characters. Kujo-Sara is very, very niche in regards to needing to be pulled with Raiden. Rosario works really well for a physical team, as well as a good freeze support on cryo teams or for Ayato. And then Sayu is kind of like the Yanfei of the previous banner. She's thrown in as a random character we haven't seen in a while. So if you want to pull Sayu, go for it. I'm not the biggest Sayu fan, but she does have a lot of good exploration potential. Things like crystal flies, don't run away from her if you need to collect a lot of those, and she has a lot of traverse skills with her rolling ability. You're able to get around places quick. Of course, we know Animo characters are all good in exploration. If you didn't pull Wanderer, you can get around quickly with Sayu. There's Kazuha options, Zhao options. Animo characters are just really good for exploration. So if you're looking for an exploring team who is going out to collect things like meat or pine cones or crystal flies, specifically crystal flies, I highly recommend Sayu to go get yourself some crystal flies. But with that being said, we're going to wrap up today's wish or skip there. Again, I wish all of you the best of luck in your pulls for Raiden, for Ayato, or for one of the weapons, and I will catch you all in the next video. So long, everybody.